Colin and I had just come from a meeting. We were with the mayor, city council, a lot of wealthy people stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in the car and we were going up to one of our Airbnbs. And I literally had a toilet in the back of our car. After this meeting, like 2 hours after the meeting, I told Colin, I said, you see a side of Dad other people don't see. He goes, what do you mean? He was 11 at the time. I said, well, we were just at the fancy meeting, dressed all nice, with all these prominent people. We got in our nice car. But what they don't see is the grubby clothes we're on, the toilet in the back of the car now, and we're going to go rental because I don't have anyone that can do this, and
yeah.
I just need to get it done. And what Stephen Furtick said is that I think is such an important lesson for our kids to see the whole picture of us, is he said, people often compare other people's highlight reels to their behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And so if I can give Colin the behind the scenes look, I just know whether he stays in the business or ever want to or not, he's going to be prepared regardless of what he goes into.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Stephen Furtick, I like a lot of his older stuff. I'm a little questionable sometimes with some of the current stuff, but that's a different story. We can go down a whole different path on that. But that is super valuable, though. I think that, and that's the downfall about Facebook and Instagram and all that type of stuff, is that's what people put up there is their highlight reel, and like we're comparing our mediocre day, like just a normal day, with somebody else's, a most amazing day that they've had, which is why they're posting it on Facebook, or on Instagram, right? Like, don't like, that's their highlight reel. That's not their everyday life. You don't know what happens on the other side of that camera when something's not rolling, when there isn't a post getting sent out, and and like if it's me, like half the time I'm not even the one who posts it, right? So good luck. I mean, I'd be more likely to post the picture that, like last night, I took a picture of me hanging out with my daughter at 1:00 in the morning. She just decided that the last 2 nights she wasn't going to sleep at night. So I'm sitting there with a very sad, crying baby at 1:00 in the morning, with like, just, okay, what am I going to do? Like, this is life. This is what it is. Like, don't, but of course that's not what sells. That's not what everybody wants to see, and all the stuff that goes along with it. But walk me through we've talked a lot about it sounds like your son and your stepkids are in like an amazing position. They're doing really great. But I know that it's not always like that. So walk me through some of the more difficult times. Like what are some of the biggest struggles, and maybe some of the biggest, let's say, screw ups that you did as a dad that you had to go in and fix, and how did you go through and fix that?
Yeah. Biggest, especially like blending families, right? That's always difficult, and and realizing and appreciating other people's gifts and talents, kids, like in different backgrounds, right? So Christian's an amazing young man. He's not into sports and a lot of the same things that Colin are in, but the kid can go light up any room and just take it over. Like, he has such a gregarious personality. He's amazing. And he's found his way in acting, and he's working with acting coaches and like doing really well. So some of my screw ups, I would say, would be like initially being more distant from that, not knowing how to connect. And so just like not participating or really engaging in conversations, because it's just, you don't even know where to start, right? It's like, where do I start in a conversation? So, and then for Colin, it's, hey, if I've lost my temper driving or on a call or something, just say, hey, you know what? Dad didn't handle that right. And apologizing for those things. Another piece was, I went back to Colin. This was actually last year. He was listening in on one of the GoBundance calls, and the guy was talking about just his dad had been such a high achiever. And like, it was such big shoes to fill. And for us, it's just natural. Like, to me, it's just, I just wake up and that's just who I am. Like, people say stuff that probably just doesn't make sense. It's like, I don't know how you do all you do. It's like, I just do. Like, it's just what you do. It doesn't seem that difficult. It's just, you just do it. But I looked at Colin and I said, do you feel like that sometimes? Do you feel like I don't recognize like the standards I'm setting and whatever? And he goes, yeah, absolutely. He said, It's hard. He says, it's actually really intimidating, Dad. So I wish I'd asked that question years earlier, right? Because how much more has he not opened up or could have shared? And so now I'm more intentional about, hey, am I doing anything intimidating, or, the standards? And I look back, I was a punk kid, man. I was on probation for assault and battery. I've been in so many fights in 8th grade. And unfortunately, I turned it around in high school, and I did well. But I was a little hellion for a while. This kid. But meanwhile, it's like, hey, well, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you take that proactive step of asking the teacher if you could come in ahead or whatever? It's like, because he's 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? I wasn't doing that when I was 8. So I think trying to expect them to live to a standard of where it's taken me 44 years to get, and it's weird. I say, it's weird being an adult and feeling like you're just figuring out how to be an adult.
Yeah.
But yet we're putting all these expectations, but we don't realize the wake that we make sometimes. To me, I'm just me. Like, I'm still the kid that didn't grow up with a lot, Carver Road, and I'm in the game a lot. I feel very blessed, but I'm just an authentic, transparent guy. But from the outside looking in, yeah, I have a lot of things and access to things and very blessed. And that's not normal for everybody. And the kids are seeing that, and they're hanging out with other kids where that's not normal, but they feel like they can easily feel like they're less than because they're not living up to these expectations. And they're hearing they're living a lot of the wins that you've accumulated, right? So that's probably my biggest screw up, is not being intentional and setting the bar too high.
Yeah.
And over especially this last year and a half, really relaxing that. And God, it's so much more freeing. It's freeing for him. It's freeing for me. And he's doing just fine.
Awesome. Yeah, that speaks a lot to me as a very similar person doing a bunch of different things and trying to accomplish all this stuff. And now that I'm doing homeschool, and I'm like, hey, you need to do this, and this today. And he's like, what? I'm like, here's your checklist, buddy. Get at it. And I'm like, you know what to do. Make it happen. And he's already, my oldest is already, a perfectionist like mom and dad, because Rick, Al, and I are both the same way. So it's like, if he doesn't get something done, and one of the beauties about homeschool is it's super flexible. If you don't get it done today, who cares? Like, we'll get it done tomorrow, right? Or, you know what? We could even do school on Saturday. We could do school at 6 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night. It doesn't matter. If there's something that you want to work on, if you have a reading assignment, you could do your reading assignment at, before you go to bed. Who cares? Like, this is easy stuff. I'm not, but I still, my standards are my standards, and it's tough to come off of stuff. And it's like, man, I really need to pay attention to that and make sure that I'm not, because that very well may be where he gets his, perfectionism from, and why he needs to, okay, well, like, I feel really bad because I didn't get this done. Well, yeah, I'm probably the one who pressured him to make sure that he got it done. And now here I am holding the bag of having to console him for the fact that he didn't get it done. Like, way to go, Dad, like, man, that speaks a lot to me. But I'm glad to hear that you only realized that a year and a half ago, and your son's doing well with it. So it gives me a little bit of hope that I haven't screwed him up too awfully bad, since he's only 8, almost 9 years old. So man, oh man,
just fine.
Yeah, it's it's been said on this particular podcast multiple times. From one of the guys mentioned, it is so much easier to be a mediocre dad than it is to be a good dad. And I think having conversations like this and figuring out where we're screwing up and how we can be better, and where our intentionality is, and how we're putting the right people around our kids, and how we're validating them the way they need to be validated, and I think that it's the only way we're going to get better is to continue to talk about it and push it out there. There was and I think that goes on most fronts, not just being a dad, but as business owners and operators, as being a former military guy, it's the same thing. Like, if you've got stuff you need to talk about in your past, then, for anybody listening here that's, prior military, I've been through a thing or two in my day. Like, go and talk to somebody about it. Like, go and have a conversation, don't let it get to a point where, you're bottled up so daggone much that you're quite literally, killing yourself. And it's like, man, oh man, we need to, have the conversations, make the improvements in our life, whether it's with your kids, with your wife, with your coworkers, with your employees, whatever it is. Like, have these conversations and be willing to grow. So I appreciate your vulnerability on that one. That one really spoke to me a lot as far as the standards for the son. But what
I love that you provide this platform to do this. That's why when I heard about it from our mutual friend Adam, that I was like, oh, just the topic alone is so needed. It's so needed. I love it. So
I appreciate it.